Now, chapter 26. This is a famous chapter that's often quoted because here Ammon, in this little meeting, he starts to get pretty excited about the successes that they've experienced among the Lamanites. At which point in verse 10, Aaron kind of interrupts him and rebukes him and says, Ammon, I fear that thy joy doth carry thee away unto boasting. Careful, Ammon. And he says, no, I'm not boasting in my own strength or in my own wisdom, but my joy is full. Why? Because I'm going to rejoice in my God. Look at verse 12. Yea, I know that I am nothing. As to my strength, I am weak. Therefore, I will not boast of myself, but I will boast of my God. For in his strength, I can do all things. Yea, behold, many mighty miracles have we wrought in this land, for which we will praise his name forever. You'll notice that in verse 15, he's describing the Lamanite converts. He says, yea, they were encircled about with everlasting darkness and destruction, but behold, he has brought them into his everlasting light, yea, into everlasting salvation, and they are encircled about with the matchless bounty of his love. Yea, and we have been instruments in his hands of doing this great and marvelous work. That to me is beautiful and profound, because Ammon's recognizing who he is and who his fellow missionaries are and who God is and who really did the work here. If you look at the word instrument and then analyze it for a minute, how many of you have ever been to a really famous or popular art museum of any kind? And you've walked into that art museum and you've seen paintings or sculptures or some pieces of art, and your first response was, wow, I wish I could see the chisels that formed that sculpture, or I wish I could see the paintbrushes and the palettes and the paints that made that painting. Nobody ever does that. The focus and the attention is on the artist, not on the instruments. And Ammon says, we've been instruments. If you use the chisel analogy for making a sculpture, the master artist, the person who's doing the sculpture, is going to look at those instruments and sometimes say, this one's shaped a little wrong. I need it to be a different shape. If you're taking certain kinds of instruments, to change them, you put them in a hot fire, and then you put them on an anvil, and you bang them until they're the right shape, and then you cool them off. And then you can do glorious work with them. Brothers and sisters, in the work of the Lord, to be an instrument in the hands of the Lord, to be picked up into the almighty hand of the Son of God, to be used to do his work, means that sometimes he has to reshape us. Sometimes he needs to clean off some edges that have grown dull or rough. And this is never a fun experience, but it's a necessary and a glorious experience in order to then be taken in his hand and do the work that he wants us to do. And at the end, rather than saying, look at what I created, look at what I carved out, it's to give all the credit back to the master artist. My life is worth very little every time I try to do what I want to do in isolation and cut off from heaven. Things don't work so well for me. But when you give yourself to the Lord and say repeatedly, here I am, take me, shape me, mold me, make me what thou would need me to be in order to do the work that thou has in store for me, it's a profound thing. It means that you need to prepare yourself for some shaping experiences. And these brothers here, they describe in chapter 26, Ammon describes some of the difficulties so hard that, look at verse 27. Now, when our hearts were depressed and we were about to turn back, Behold, the Lord comforted us and said, Go amongst thy brethren the Lamanites, and bear with patience thine afflictions, and I will give you success. I know that the chances are pretty good. If President Eyring's talk in General Conference many years ago is accurate, which I think it is, he said, treat everybody that you meet as if they're going through serious trials and tribulations, and more than 50% of the time you'll be right. If that's true, many of you who are watching this might currently be wrestling with a very difficult circumstance. Some of you might be moving through a profound trial of your faith. And some of you wrestling with physical and mental and emotional and relational struggles and issues. If any of that's the case for you, I hope you can hear Ammon's voice repeating verse 27. When our hearts were depressed and we were about to turn back, behold, the Lord comforted us. It doesn't mean he comes and takes away all those trials and struggles. It just means he gives us the means to say, keep trying, hold on, keep pressing forward. Even if you're holding on with the fingernail of faith, you hold on with all that you've got and know that he will give you success. Pretty powerful.